child's play for who would ever think it would come to this. But this time, Chucky gets a little action, if you know what I mean.
I think a number of things make this movie different from the other ones. First, the direction, I think, really elevates the series to a new level, certainly a new level of visual sophistication. The actors, we have actors like Jennifer Tilly, who's an Oscar nominee.
For God's sake, Chucky, drag yourself into the 90s. Stabbings went out with Bundy and Dahmer. You look like Martha Stewart with that thing.
Along with Brad Dourif, who's been along for all of the movies. He's also an Oscar nominee.
Ah, what the hell? I need the exercise.
I play Tiffany, and she's this white trash trailer park girl that turns into a homicidal little doll. And it's kind of a long story. She used to be the girlfriend of Chucky before he turned into the doll. And so I guess Chucky's original name was Charles Ray. And she gets very turned on by killing, and she's attracted to bad guys. And she has a boyfriend in the movie at the time that you meet her called Damien that's very inadequate, and she's not real happy with him because he won't kill people like Charles did, and so she's trying to bring Chucky back to life.
One of the ways that Chucky has changed is that a humor has come out of him, a kind of a black comedy, dark humor, and there were moments of that in the first and second and third films, and every time those moments happened, the audience really responded. It was kind of an emotional roller coaster of scary, scary, and then Chucky would just have kind of a throwaway line and the audience would laugh and applaud.
The humor in this movie definitely sets it apart from the other films. It's definitely ratcheted up a notch from the other ones. And the fact that the dolls really are the leads in this film, whereas in the previous ones, Chucky was a little bit more of a peripheral presence. This time he really is front and center. He and Tiffany carry the film, and that's a big difference. And finally, it's a love story. Chucky gets lucky.
This film is my first romantic lead, and it's part of an overall strategy to launch me into the leading man status. I got a bunch of projects in development, both as actor and producer, and me and Sharon Stone have been talking about doing something together for a while now.
Jesse and Jade, who are the teenage characters at the beginning of the story, they decide to run away and get married, and unwittingly they're transporting these dolls with them. They intend to make a delivery and get some money so that with that money they can start their new life. Of course, they don't realize that these dolls are committing murders along the way, murders which the kids themselves are then implicated for.
What Chucky and Tiffany want is to get to the grave, to be able to transmogrify their souls into that of these two handsome young kids. And as Tiffany says, it's almost like real estate. We're kind of renting these bodies that we're in right now, but we're looking to buy. And you happen to be in the wrong place at the right time.
And who the hell is Martha Stewart?
My idol. And what does Martha tell you to do when guests drop by for dinner and you haven't had time to shop? You improvise.
When we were casting the picture, I told the studio, there's only one actress in Hollywood with big enough talents to play Chucky's bride, and that's Jennifer Tilly.
When they sent me the script and they said that Ronny was going to direct it, I got really excited because I thought, wow, this is really different to bring that sort of maverick Hong Kong sensibility to Chucky, which is sort of a formulaic film that everybody knows. And I thought, because they were saying, David Kirshner and Don Mancini were saying to me that they wanted to reinvent the Chucky series for the 90s. And I thought that it was really a cool choice that they hired Ronny, who's kind of known for his visual style and will bring a different sensibility to it.
Always learning from the old masters like Hitchcock and Brian De Palma and all those old masters. And they always have, when you look at their films, it's good that when you scare people and then you sort of, before you go to another scare, you sort of give them another relaxation. So give them another comic relief, and then they hit it again with a shock or with a horror thing. I think that would keep people on the edge, on the edge of the seat, so that they would pay attention, So it's a game. It's a game you play with the audiences, which is for me, I think is a great challenge.
It's kind of a parody on the Bride of Frankenstein. In fact, we even have little snippets of the old Frankenstein movies in the film, and especially because when she sews back together Chucky's face and puts the body parts on him, it's sort of reminiscent of Dr. Frankenstein creating his monster.
I was in a video store and I saw a copy of The Bride of Frankenstein, and I just thought, wow, that would be great if we were able to create a bride for Chucky. And so I spoke to Don Mancini about the concept, and he weaved this great tale for the bride of Chucky.
As far as puppeteering goes, it's the same, I guess, basic idea, but everything over the years, it's all operated in his face with servo motors that actually just little Futaba brand motors that hobbyists use for airplanes, and they're all strategically put in place in his face, and they hook on little cables or rods that pull up his cheeks or his brow down and all that stuff.
All right, so I'm Brock Winkless, and I'm working Chucky's mouth. And Chucky's mouth consists of this controller, which is the jaw piece. So as I move my jaw, this moves, and this is his box of lips, and they all move around as I coordinate that with the jaw. So I flip this on, crank it down real tight, and now whatever I say, Chucky says. That's right, Brock.
And it takes one guy just to work the arm, and that's without fingers. So we've got a guy on fingers, we've got one person on left arm, one person on right arm, one person on body and head to do all of this kind of stuff, this kind of action. 3 people in the face alone. So it's anywhere, minimal 7 people, but you can take up to 8 or 9 people per puppet.
Very complicated coordination. If you're dealing with just puppet alone, puppet and puppet is easier. But if you have the interaction between human actor, the timing, the delivery of dialogue, the how to express the emotion, all that has to be really figured out early on in advance, and then has to have a lot of rehearsal and also a lot of explanation to the human actor so that they understand how to react to a puppet, to somebody that is not human but has to pretend to be human.
Actually, this scene, this lovemaking scene, when I first read it, I just couldn't believe. I was like, oh my gosh, is this really going to happen? And it is. It's just kind of fun. They start, getting in the mood, and Chucky and Tiffany both realize that all their parts, all the plumbing, actually work, and he begins to be aroused, and they begin to have this lovemaking scene. And I think it's going to be handled. Ronny Yu, the director, is going to handle it in a very, tasteful way. But there is tongue in this, by the way. They end up going into a kiss, and we built these little tongues that'll actually come out and dart around a little bit and exchange a touch or two.
Actually, I think Tiffany is the first doll that you ever see on screen having sex, because it's a scene where Tiffany and Chucky have little doll sex. And when we were doing the looping, David and Dom were saying, well, they'll just drop below frame and have doll sex. And I said, oh, we should make noises. And so me and Brad Dourif were in the recording room making all these little doll sex noises, and it was so much fun.
Wait, what?
Have you got a rubber?
Have I got a rubber?
Yeah.
Tiff,
What?
look at me. I'm all rubber.
I think one of the things about Chucky, why people like him, is I think a lot of people find dolls very, very creepy. I think it's sort of like clowns that people find dolls. The fact that it's something that looks so much like a human and yet doesn't, it's sort of distorted. And I think everybody's had that nightmare when they're looking at their dolls at night, that they think, ooh, wouldn't it be creepy if their dolls started to talk? And I think there's something funny about dolls, that they're always smiling, that they could be doing really evil things while they're still smiling. I think that's a really creepy concept.
He's bad, and then yet he's cute. Even though he does bad things, like he killed people, he do some violent things, but he is somebody who doesn't care. He's just so focused to go his own way, to get what he wants, and in a way it's a fantasy figure. I think everybody would love, to be able to do that.
For me, the greatest thing was when people, after the first movie, said to me, and I've heard it on and on, that they cannot walk into their kid's room now without thinking of Chucky, and it just really gives them quite a bit of a chill. And that's probably the greatest compliment you could have. I remember reading Steven Spielberg saying that about Jaws, that people would never feel the same way about the beach, where it was a wonderful place to go. It was a very different world after that. And from what people have said about the nursery, I think we've done the same thing.
I may have settled down in the movie, but in real life, I'm still a chick magnet. Barbie and I are still kind of an item, of course, but after the movie opens, I'm heading down to Rio with Scary Spice, man.